President McCulloch Lovell, Ms. Claudine Brown, Esquire, Dr. Glazer, Mr. Scagliotti, Mr. Jones, Reverend Mallory, fellow trustees, Marlboro faculty, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the class of 2011. Welcome to the 64th commencement of Marlboro College. I am Dean Nisseper. I am the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Marlboro College. Thank you all for joining us on this 64th commencement. Commencement is always my favorite Marlboro event. It is wonderful to see the entire community of Marlboro come together to celebrate and honor the members of our graduating class who have worked so hard and who represent the culmination of not only their own efforts, but also the efforts of all of the faculty, administrators, trustees, parents, and family members over the last 4 years. To the class of 2011, let me be the first to congratulate you. "35 years ago, I sat where you sit today at my graduation from Marlboro College. At that time, Marlboro's core values were the same core values we treasure at Marlboro today: to teach students to learn clear, deep, complex thinking, to teach students to learn independently, and to teach students responsible involvement in their community. I recently had the opportunity to read a wonderful partial history of Marlboro College. It is the Thomas B. Ragel's memoir reflecting his 24 years as Marlboro's president during the period 1957 to 1981. That memoir demonstrates in vivid detail what a unique and important institution Marlboro has been in the world of higher learning throughout its history. The dedication of our faculty to our students, the enormous trust they have for and the responsibility they place on the students, our encouragement of students to stand up for and speak out for what they believe in, and the closeness of this entire community. These are all qualities that contribute to an educational experience that is duplicated nowhere else. The fact that 69% of our Marlboro graduates have attended graduate school after Marlboro is just one statistic demonstrating the success of Marlboro's educational approach. This year, I had the chance to experience a Marlboro event that echoed many of the stories in Tom Ragel's memoir. It was an impromptu event that took place this past February. That weekend, the trustees were on campus, and it was the peak of the demonstrations in Cairo's central Tahrir Square. I went to the large conference room where students and faculty had organized this last-minute Skype conference call, and I encountered a room packed full of students, faculty, staff, standing room only on a Friday night. On the video conference phone was a former Marlboro fellow who lives in Egypt, and he was risking his own personal security to call in from Cairo. In the room with us was a current Marlboro fellow who also is from Egypt. We were additionally lucky to have our fellow trustee, Peter Galbraith, who, as many of you may know, had been a United States diplomat in the Mideast for many years. The discussions that took place in the following 30 minutes about what was happening in Egypt, about what it meant to the Egyptians, about what it meant to us in America, and to everyone around the world was absolutely riveting. Here we were on a Friday night when students had the opportunity to be out relaxing or out partying, and we were all packed together in a room voluntarily to learn more about and experience this amazing event in Egypt. It was truly a Marlboro moment. It was a thrill to be at Marlboro for that event, and it was a reminder of why I am so proud to be a Marlboro alum. Today, this 64th commencement likewise inspires my alumni pride. All of you in our 2011 class of graduates are about to join me and become Marlboro alumni. You will learn the pride that I feel. As a student, I did not fully appreciate how much I would benefit from the values and self-confidence Marlboro instilled in me. After Marlboro, I realized just how much they helped me, both in my first career as a professional jazz musician and in my current career as a partner at a 40-lawyer law firm in New York City. I know now what a unique and important institution Marlboro is in the world of higher learning, and I know just how important it is that we, as alumni, ensure that Marlboro and its unique educational model continue to flourish. I ask that each of you periodically think back to your time here at Marlboro. Appreciate what it has meant to your life and what it has contributed to you as a person. I ask you to come back to Marlboro and again be rewarded by giving to this community so that Marlboro will be as important to students in many generations to come as it is to you and me. Thank you, and congratulations to our graduating class. I now have the pleasure of introducing to you a person whose leadership over the past 7 years has raised the college to the level it is today and given the college a much greater awareness of what it is and what it can and will be. The president of Marlboro College, Ellen McCulloch Lovell.
Thank you, Dean, for opening this day of gratitude. The snow just melted. The lilacs are late. But it is a fresh, wet Vermont spring, a season of new beginnings. You seniors are about to commence into your new lives. And now we have this last ritual time together. The list of thank yous is long, beginning with the musicians who played us into this celebration. Look around this expansive space. It is full of those who have loved, upheld, challenged, and taught you. I thank the Board of Trustees, those who are responsible for Marlboro's flourishing and future. Please stand to be recognized. Thank you. I welcome the accomplished guests and speakers who share this ceremony with us. We thank the families and the friends who came from as far as Morocco and Alaska and as near as neighboring Vermont towns to witness your rite of passage. Their support and love brought you to this hour. To the den mothers, marshals, and major domos of commencement, thank you. You know who they are. We thank the faculty, your teachers, mentors, and friends, those dedicated to stretching your capacity to meet your and their high expectations, who offered their respect and their utter belief in you. Among them are Tim Little and Bob Engel at their finale. Marlboro wouldn't be Marlboro without Tim. Here 37 years, our own historian and living link to our founding faculty. And Marlboro wouldn't be what it is today without Bob Engel, who devoted 36 years and taught us all every year to ask better questions. Luis Baget received our musical tributes this year after 30 years of music making here and with the Marlboro Music School and Festival. More will be said at other occasions. And I was going to ask you to applaud them, but you already did, right on cue. So thank you for that acknowledgement. This year we say goodbye to 3 fellows who enriched our work. Ayman Yaqub, Arabic, Luis Liu Yang, Mathematics, and Eileen Harney, Humanities. We thank the staff who listened to your worries, answered your questions, and cheered your successes. Here we are, one last blast of exuberance. Orals are over, the presentations and shows are over, plans are in the library, I hope the parties are over. You are ready for us to anoint you with a few more words and then move your tassels. Who are you, Marlboro students, 2011 graduates? At Marlboro, it's hard to characterize any group. We don't think of you as the class of 2011. Only half of you started together 4 years ago. We think rather of your individuality, your voices, your imaginations. But as one alumna told me, we are all really the same because we're all really different in a radical sort of way. 64 years ago, Marlboro graduated one student. The speaker was Robert Frost. Today we graduate 69, and our speaker is Claudine Brown. There were no women students back then. Today, 39 women are graduating, and you are giving us the Women's Resource Center. In 1948, the former GIs asked how they could rebuild a fractured democracy around the world. Now we ask how to better understand ourselves, the nation, and the world through a more diverse Marlboro. Just yesterday, the trustees passed a statement of values which begins, Marlboro College strives to be a diverse learning community of culturally conscious individuals. The college is committed to the innate dignity of each person and values and celebrates different perspectives. 47 years ago, Marlboro graduated a promising young man named Tim Little. 9 years later, the college hired him to teach history. You could do that too. 4 years ago at Convocation, I invited you to become a part of this intellectual and creative community. I asked you to be good stewards of Marlboro, the place. I quoted our founders who said a Marlboro education was characterized by teachers and students learning together, discovering the meaning of democracy, and developing effective citizens. We expect that to happen here, learning, discovering, developing. In 2007, George W. Bush was president. Today, Barack Obama is. The US was in 2 wars, still true today. In the last 4 years, Marlboro students traveled with their faculty to 10 countries, including Egypt, Vietnam, Kenya, Japan, Italy, and China. We went through the H1N1 virus and the Great Recession. Some of you worked full-time while you were full-time students to be able to graduate today. Responding to the earthquake in Haiti, you sent more money to Partners for Health than Princeton students. Remember when Al Gore got the Nobel Peace Prize? When Vermont legalized same-sex marriage? Together, we watched citizen movements around the world, held a teach-in with Ayman during the Egyptian uprising. 10 new faculty members joined Marlboro while you were here. You helped hire them. You planted the farm garden and we sampled are veggies, and I promise you the college will finish the greenhouse. We weathered the hardest winter in years, ate together, danced together. Now you are packing up to leave. Some of you are going to graduate school. Some of you are rolling down the hill to Brattleboro, joining the 12-mile club. Some of you have jobs. Others are officially undecided. I saw last year's graduate in one of your performances the other day and said, "It's good to have you back." He replied, "You might have noticed I never left." Marlboro can be like that. Who are you now, today? Research tells us that the college years are that precious time to think, to create, to explore, to become, when a person's identity is forged. Influential teachers challenged you, then validated you. You learned from your peers outside the classroom and on the trips. You came with ideas and changed them. You went through the crucible of confusion and change, exploring your beliefs, your differences and biases, even suffering the loss of loved ones, to emerge with a stronger sense of self. You know more about what you are capable of, how convincing you are, how strong, what lasts. You know through experience what educational philosopher John Dewey said: the self is not something ready-made, but something in continuous formation through choice of action. Who did you become while you were here? You are scholars and artists, enthusiasts and skeptics, participants and loners, confident and self-doubting, idealistic and disillusioned, demanding and forgiving, glad it's over, and sad to say goodbye. Here you put your words on paper, paint on canvas, practiced your own voice, found your body's own language, tested your own questions, found your way through the process and the final work of plan. And we debated how we debated over policy, over bylaws, how we address and respect each other, over the role you had in a self-governing community as those founders intended. I wonder how Marlboro will look to you when you look back. I can tell you that when I meet alumni, they tell me they never worked so hard, they never made such good friends, and they still search for the sense of community they felt here. I will tell you that the arenas of work, politics, art, and scholarship need the skills that you have honed here. You are still in formation through choice of action. Who will you become? Only you can answer that question. Today you are not processing out into the world. This is the world. This is where you participated in forming yourselves and Marlboro. You are taking your life, your mind, your love from one goal to the next. Quoting that good Vermonter John Dewey again, education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. Arriving at one goal is the starting point to another. And as you start, take the world that is Marlboro with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I have the great pleasure of introducing the person elected to speak for you today, someone whose presence has changed Marlboro, whose voice we hear, Jonathan Biko Mandela Jones.
Hey, everybody. I didn't really know this until about 15 minutes ago, but the words I'm about to say are taking the form of what a very dear professor of mine calls a compliment sandwich. I have been done a great kindness by this community, which sits before me and which sits without exception behind me. And it is a kindness that I will be working to repay until I repay it, which I do not think will happen. But, so, I don't know. If we could acknowledge this kindness, which I will not name, it does not need to be named, but it is a great kindness, and I would like to acknowledge this community. I'd like to say a few words about something that has been on my mind of late, namely, the disparity between the values of the institution of Marlboro College and the community of Marlboro College. An institution should never be confused with the community, nor should the people who make the institutional decisions be excluded from that community. It is the people that matter, but too often their persons are overshadowed by the thing that they are a part of. The community, of which those people are vital, is alive and strong. The institution is damaged and faltering. Whether it be the puzzling double standard apparent in the enforcement of our values, or the hesitancy and inability to address racism, sexism, and bigotry on this campus in a satisfactory and uniform manner, or a grading policy, seemingly unfair to many students, that can take the individualism fostered here for 4 years and, in a final contradiction, squash it under an unspoken normative curve, the institution of Marlboro College is failing the community of Marlboro College, systemically and steadily. Those are probably harsh words to the ears of those here not directly a part of this community. Know that they are spoken from a place of love for a school that, with all its faults, allows me to so openly critique it. That is not to be ignored, and I commend its willingness to hear the voice of its students here on such a public stage. I am a student, after all, and so to critique is to admire, to respect, to want to improve. But it is the community, that thriving organism made of students, teachers, staff, administration, and the board, that I will address now, in hopes that the next words can help us all move past the wrongs we have done and received in our years here, and celebrate each other as people and as friends. We will all of us spend most of our lives searching, for love, for understanding, for family. As we speed through life on trajectories as yet chaotic and unknown, we will falter and grasp and not know why we fail to find what we seek. In our flailing, we will inevitably strike those we care for. This is very human. And yet we often forget that every failure, every crumbling toehold, is merely an obstacle in the path, a minor slide that begs a slight divergence. It can be easy to despair at our failures. But we have a constant coach, a shadow that tries tirelessly to remind us of the impermanence of failure. See, we are creators. Every one of us walking across this stage today is a creator of something magnificent, something born of ether and electricity and the frustration of failure after failure. We reach deep within ourselves, plumb the vastness of our potential, and we created this thing we call plan. What then can stop us from reaching deeper still and creating all we seek? I say that nothing can, and I believe that we already have. We search for love, and yet if you glance ever so briefly around this room, you will see people who love you. We search for understanding after spending 4 or more years learning how to have it and to give it. As far as family, I challenge anyone to spend even 1 week on this hill and tell me we aren't one. What I am trying to say can be condensed into 3 words spoken frequently throughout the first 21 years of my life by a very wise man who often stumbled and never fell. A man who understood that no inch of ground can be tread without walking in someone else's tracks. That as dark and lonely as life may seem at times, there is always a friend with a light and a hand. What we have done on this mountain is walk over and over in each other's footsteps, extend countless hands, light countless candles. Because of this, we can never be without a friend, even if just a memory of a moment. Wherever our feet take us, they have all touched the same mud and grass, and that is a bond that cannot be undone. We will all fail, but we will succeed as well. And today, we celebrate a monumental success, together, borne on all our backs. Wherever we go from here, we must remember this day and our new family, and in the presence of whatever hurdle we come across, exclaim, "It's all good," and step forward. So on behalf of all of you, my brothers and sisters in thought, and in honor of all those who taught us, I part my lips and I take my step. It's all good.
Thank you, Jonathan. May I ask Dean Nisseper and John Scagliotti to join me at the podium? John?
In your preeminent role as an Emmy Award-winning filmmaker, television producer, and radio broadcaster, you have adroitly challenged audiences with the depth and significance of human realities. For more than 3 decades, you have dedicated your career to celebrating the role of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender individuals in the events that have shaped modern culture. You grew up as a young man under the specter of censorship regarding anything even perceived to be gay in the mainstream media, and then set out to fix that. You have said, "I sat in horror watching my first reference to homosexuality in public, even though I was secretly happy that there might be someone like me out there." After receiving your Master of Fine Arts from New York University's Graduate School of Film and Television in 1983, you produced the first documentary on gay and lesbian issues ever to receive major funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Before Stonewall, a history of the making of the gay and lesbian community in America, went on to win 2 Emmy Awards and first place at the prestigious FilmX Film Festival in Los Angeles. You created and became executive producer of In the Life, the first gay and lesbian national series on PBS, which began in 1991 on only 6 stations and is now, 20 years later, carried by more than 100. This historic program's growth is due to your artistry and vision, emphasizing the importance of the gay community's contribution to culture, politics, and entertainment in America. Through your mastery of radio and film, from The Lavender Hour to Dangerous Living, coming out in the developing world, you have opened our eyes to the continuing struggles and profound influence of the LGBT community both here and abroad. You said, "The gay community touches every aspect of contemporary life, influencing styles, attitudes, and the arts." As the administrator of the Kopkind Colony in nearby Guilford, a living memorial to your late partner, journalist Andrew Kopkind, you support the arts both locally and nationally throughout residences, independent filmmaker seminars, and film festivals. Through your life and work, you have consistently demonstrated that each of us is an individual beyond any definition of identity politics. John Scagliotti, it is our pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humane Letters.
I'd like to thank President McCulloch Lovell and Marlboro College for according me this honor. I was pleased to see that Marlboro College was recognizing me not only for my work in film and television, but also my role on behalf of the LGBT and allied community. I'm accepting this honorary degree in the memory of Ron Squires, an 8th-generation Vermonter, a neighbor, a friend from my hometown in Guilford, who as the first openly gay legislator in 1990 led the way to passage of legislation that would stop discrimination in the workplace and housing for gay and lesbian Vermonters. It was pioneering work, as Vermont became only the 6th state in the nation at the time to pass such civil rights legislation. Ron died from complications of AIDS early in his life at 41, right after winning his first re-election campaign. Ron's work inspired many of us, including his mother Shirley, who is here in the audience today. Each May, Shirley Squires has participated in the Brattleboro AIDS Walk in honor of her son. She walks again for the 19th time next Saturday. Over these past years, she has raised close to $200,000 for the AIDS Project of Southern Vermont. The struggle for human rights has been hard fought, and my presence here is an indication of how far it has brought us. An old-timer from the black struggle in the South likes to say, you can learn about history, you can read history, but when you've lived history, you can talk about it. I guess I've done all three, and I could tell you stories, but in the end, what's driven me is the belief that if we really want a world fit to live in, if we have any hope of a just society in the future, we need to know our history of struggle, and we need to be vigilant in preserving it. For all of your sakes, I hope the students graduating this year never stop learning history and take the chance to live it. On this important occasion for me, I asked my neighbor, the poet Veranda Porch, to write a few words to end my acknowledgement of the honor you bestow on me today. Veranda writes, "When the world hurts and death holds court with the patriarchs, in the hinterland are loaves and fishes. Love throws a potluck." Thank you.
Claudine Brown, may we invite you to the podium. For more than 30 years, you have worked within the museum and philanthropy worlds to promote education that is both hands-on and multi-sensory. You have said that museums create communities, and as the Director of Education at the Smithsonian Institution, you are creating a new community of learning for students of all ages. You grew up in Baltimore, a region of the country your Smithsonian colleagues refer to as the Upper South. Attending a segregated school, integrating your junior high school, and discovering how to value your own skills as a learner. With a passion for education, the arts, and social justice, you went on to receive your bachelor's degree from Pratt Institute, your master's in education from Bank Street College of Education, and your JD from Brooklyn Law School. You began your inspired career in New York City public schools, then next at the Brooklyn Museum, where you managed school and youth programs, as well as community programs. You learned to teach about every collection in the museum, then trained security guards to answer visitors' questions about objects. Those same security guards, in turn, expanded museum audiences by including their own communities. For 15 years, you worked as director of the Arts and Culture Program at the Nathan Cummings Foundation, a leading funder promoting economic and social justice. You embraced art as a catalyst for social change and civic engagement, building relationships between artists and activists. Excuse me. You said, art reaches people that other media cannot. Artists support the process whereby communities express themselves. Now, you are defining the Smithsonian Institution's education program and asking, what does it look like to be the nation's museum in the 21st century, using all the tools that exist to reach people? You are talking with the public about what they need, such as curricular support with images and videos for classrooms, all in the process of making the institution a greater national resource for students of all ages. Your admirable commitment to the arts and community-based education resonates strongly with the academic ideals upheld here at Marlboro. Claudine Brown, it is our honor to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humane Letters. Now I give you your commencement speaker, Claudine Brown.
Thank you very much. I would like to say greetings to the faculty, to the staff, and to the students especially of Marlboro College, and to say thank you to the students for being here today and for inviting your family. And so I'm going to tell you one of the reasons why I am here today. When I was in undergraduate school and graduated from Bank Street College, I decided not to go to my graduation. My friends and I went to see a Star Wars movie. And then we went out and had dinner and drinks, and we felt really wonderful. And about a year later, my grandmother said, "When are you going to finish graduate school?" And I said, "Oh, I finished." And she said, "You know, I think you're very smart, and I think that you love your family dearly, but I can't imagine that you would have graduated and not invited me to the commencement. So you must not have graduated." So today, I dedicate this wonderful honor and moment to Edna Mae Holloway Phillips. And she is not on this plane right now, but I hope she will consider this my graduation. So to the graduates, if life is a journey, today you will end your stay at one stop along the way and head to many new destinations. Some of you will be going back to your home communities. Others will be relocating in new cities to do jobs that probably didn't exist a decade ago. Some of you may have done internships and you were so phenomenal that those places want you to come back. And some of you will start enterprises of your own. Many of you so enjoyed your intellectual quest at this institution that you will go to graduate school. But the journeys will be different and the experiences will be new. Graduations have always been anticlimactic for me. They made me nostalgic for the past and just a little bit nervous about my future. They reminded me that I was leaving a safe haven and entering new communities that would hopefully welcome, nourish, and embrace me. When I declared at the age of 9 that I would grow up to be an artist and a lawyer, my family assumed that I would at some point make a choice. Ultimately, I made a series of choices that helped me to shape a life and a career path that I could never have imagined at that time. I entered graduate school with a passion for art, intellectual curiosity, and family values that shaped my interest in community engagement. And while my intellectual journey has taken twists and turns, my values have remained constant. My need to support and sustain the work of communities of learners over time has been the thread that has linked all of my work. For many years, when I taught in a graduate program at Bank Street College, I asked each new class of students to develop a timeline, and I would encourage you to do this. It will be interesting for you. And the timeline was divided into 2 columns, and in fact, not just students, parents should do this too. And I asked them, one, to list the milestones of their personal lives, and in the other column, I asked them to list the historical moments that were important to them. And my graduate students tend to range from their 20s to their 60s, and so very quickly we were able to figure out that people were united by the historical moments that they shared, and that they were a community even if they did not know one another and they had something to talk about with each other. Now, I graduated from Pratt Institute exactly 4 decades ago, and I'm still in touch with members of that community. For many years, I lived around the corner from Pratt, so I could even bump into people accidentally. And though I honed artistic skills there that I use today, my most influential experiences took place outside of the classroom. For almost an entire school year, members of the Black Students Union protested the lack of Black courses on campus. And I was a member of that group, and I have to say with some irony, I spent an entire school year negotiating 10 non-negotiable demands. I would also say to you that it took us about 3 years, but we were able to get Black faculty and we were able to get courses that we thought were really important. What I will also say to you that because I lived in that community off and on for 30 years, we made gains and then we had losses. About 20 years later, there were students who didn't care about those things and they weren't taking those courses and they didn't care if the faculty was diverse. And so I lived long enough to be in a community where all the things I had fought for began to go away. So I would say to you that this really is a journey. My peers and I also protested the war in Cambodia. So we ended up not being in class for almost 2 out of the 4 years that we were in school. But we had faculty and advisors who insisted that we do all of our work. And one of the interesting things about that is that we created buddy systems. So engineering students helped art students, architecture students helped library science students, and we actually learned from our peers in ways that we might not have learned had we been in class. We all passed, we all turned in all of our assignments, and I would like to think that these strikes provided us with an opportunity to engage in our own form of self-directed learning. As a group, we experienced the assassinations of Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King. We were very directly affected by the war in Vietnam. Men in my class who didn't maintain their grade point averages, and those who didn't take enough credits were drafted, and most of them were sent to Vietnam. There were people in our class who had been to Vietnam and come back. Many were spiritually and physically wounded. And there were a number of people in our class who were conscientious objectors. But fortunately, all of our collective memories were not linked to tragedies. We were together when Neil Armstrong set foot on the moon, and a large contingency of my peers went to Woodstock. Our parents thought we were extremists. We had too much hair. Our clothes were garish. Most of us wish we had too much hair today. We played our music too loud, and we were righteously indignant about almost everything. We thought that we were mellow. They thought that we were high. They wanted us to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, and dentists. We wanted to be artists, civil rights workers, and urban gardeners. They worried that we might never get jobs that paid a living wage. What they really worried about was that they might have to support us for the rest of our lives. And they said, if you want to be an artist, major in art education, which I have to admit I did. If you care about civil rights, become a lawyer. And if you believe it's important to garden in the city, become a landscape architect. We believed that they were out of touch. They wanted us to be corporate, to join the establishment. We wanted to work for and with the people. And I might also say that we weren't really clear about who the people were. Many of us did work for and with the people, and we quickly learned that our passions and energies were not enough. We worked for nonprofit organizations that were underfunded and overwhelmed by the needs of their constituents. These organizations were often run by leaders whose models for social change had worked in the past, but were no longer as successful. We aggressively declared that the new tools and strategies that needed to be employed were the tools that we knew, and that if they wanted to really make change, they needed to let us do what we knew how to do best. We believed that these 30 and 40-year-olds were old and out of touch, and they believed that we were young, impulsive, not very nuanced in our thinking, and inexperienced. We also discovered that those who fought against racism could be sexist, and that feminists could be homophobic. We realized that the world needed changing on many more levels than we had contemplated. More often than not, the work was stressful, and we were challenged to acquire new skills as we encountered peers on either side of the issues who were quite simply much better prepared. And so, as our parents smiled and felt very vindicated, we went back to school. We got advanced degrees in education, journalism, law, city planning, cultural anthropology, business, public administration, and architecture. When we couldn't successfully bring new skills and strategies to existing organizations, and often we could not, we created new ones. Greenpeace was born. Ms. Magazine was launched. We ran innovative federal programs that helped poor people become first-time homeowners, and they had mortgages that they could manage. We created tutorial projects for young people who were among the first generation in their families to go to college. And we continued to work very long hours for relatively low salaries. We had children who we sometimes didn't see very often, and they too believed in our causes, but they craved normal families like the ones on TV. Who knew that we were creating the new normal? Several years ago, I attended a conference that featured well-known artists whose children were also artists. However, those children, in many instances, worked in different media. And an accomplished poet complained when someone mentioned that a 30-ish journalist earned $70,000 a year. And his response was, there's no reason why this very young person should be making this much money. She hasn't paid her dues. She has no experience. This salary is excessive. And with a straight face, she said, my parents are like you. They've worked for social justice organizations all their lives. They have no savings and no retirement plans. And my generation needs to do well so that we can support your generation. My peers have chosen paths that have been shaped by education, experience, and history. My friend Gail, the writer and lawyer, runs an organization that serves prisoners with health issues. Linda, the artist with an MBA, founded an art gallery, became an award-winning filmmaker, and now runs an urban gardening program. Ted, the lawyer and architect, is pursuing his interest in art history, and Ken, the cultural anthropologist, has directed a museum, run a film festival, and is now president of a library foundation. I studied fashion design, And what I should say to you about fashion design, and I think that I already had social justice chops then, I woke up one morning and realized that I didn't care what other people wore. I thought that everybody should wear what they wanted to wear, actually, and they should be as creative as they wanted about it. I had a couple of aunts who I thought needed someone in their closet who would jump out and say, "Don't do that." But otherwise, I thought that everyone should be left to their own devices. So I studied fashion design, I studied museum education, art education, and law, and I worked in an art museum as a program director in a foundation, and I should say to you that at 9 or 7, foundations were not on my radar screen. That is not a job I thought I would ever have. I taught in a graduate program in a museum, and now I am at the Smithsonian, and I really believe that all of the work that I did in all of those places has prepared me for the work that I have to do today. So at the Smithsonian, I am the Assistant Secretary for Education and Access, and as Ellen mentioned, I have to think about what it means for a national museum to reach people who may only visit once in a lifetime or who may never come to the institution. And one of the ways that we are thinking about our work is that it has to be integrated, that we have to get people to use not just the left or right side of their brain, but the whole side, their whole brains. And so last week we did a conference. Many of you may know that this nation believes that in order for us to be competitive on a global scale, we have to embrace something called STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are the areas where we are behind, and fewer young people are majoring in those areas. At the Smithsonian, we are embracing STEAM. We've added art to STEM because we think we must. So at this conference, we invited educators from art, science, history, and cultural museums to consider what it would look like for them to work together. And one of the things that we learned was that almost every single person in that room had this multidisciplinary background. The group included social scientists working at a social scientist who works in an astrophysical laboratory, a number of interactive technologists who are also visual artists, an opera singer who works at the American History Museum, and 2 kindergarten teachers who were originally artists who work at the National Air and Space Museum. And so this group of people was very open to thinking in different ways and to collaborating and to really coming up with ways that we can get young people to be interested in the sciences from a multiplicity of points of view. And I think that what this group acknowledged is that no single discipline exists in a vacuum. You know, science exists within a historical context, and there are moments when art can make science understandable. I would say to you that I'm a truly blessed person who has worked throughout my life on projects that have captured my imagination, challenged my intellect, and reaffirmed my values. I have worked with smart people, crazy people, brave and defiant people, insecure people who were willing to put aside their fears for the benefit of others, shy people who chose to assert themselves when they were most needed, and risk-taking young people who have grown into wise leaders. And I learned from every single one of them. This work life has been so very fulfilling for me, but it did not come about because I had an orderly plan. In a very orderly way, I embraced disorder. It has been about leaving my comfort zone and embracing discomfort, taking risk and embracing change. It has been about teaching and learning. So what have I learned? Because anybody who does a graduation address has to kind of give you some advice. Please feel free to ignore it completely if it does not pertain to you. So the first thing that I would say to you is do work that you love. Work can and should be the play of adults. When we have a passion for what we do, the hours speed by. We don't ask ourselves why we are doing this work. We simply can't imagine a different or better life. The work flows, and we are open to new ways to grow and deepen what we know. The second piece of advice, know that you can be all that you want to be. You don't have to just be a single thing, and probably you won't. We should not indulge in language of limitation. Many of us will work in brand new fields, or we will help rethink existing ones. Our unique perspectives on the world and our singular approaches to problem solving can make each of us a significant contributor in whatever field we embrace. So, next, embrace change. As a person who didn't love my teachers on the first day of school, but loved them a lot on the last day of school and wanted to stay with them for the rest of my life, I would say, know that there will be other teachers who are wonderful. Embrace change because it will happen with or without you. I ask myself daily, am I capable of learning something new? Can I afford to stop learning and be left behind? Who are the great teachers who can support my informal learning? And of the many things that I can learn, which skills will be most useful for me? And I will give you an Octavia Butler quote from Parable of the Sowers. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. Acknowledge that it is highly likely that you will have more than one great idea. And I say this to you as a person who has a law degree and an art degree, who's often approached by people who says, somebody stole my thing, okay? Give time and attention to your dreams and goals. Don't just talk about them, do something about them. Others may achieve similar goals before you, but your interpretation and implementation of that goal will be unique. If you care about it, do something every day to make it real. And so this is my practical information. This is something that I have. I think you should all have. Parents, you're included in this. Create a personal board of directors. You're that important. When we are asked to make difficult decisions, we should seek the advice of those who love us well and know us best. My personal board of directors consists of my 2 sons, my 3 closest friends, my lawyer, and accountant. It can be larger or smaller. Cook the meal that you make best, and if you're not a good cook, cater. Bring them all together, lay out all the issues, and let them go at it. And use their wisdom. Learn to reframe. See obstacles as challenges and failures as opportunities or course corrections. Think of the position that you didn't get as the position that wasn't right for you at this particular moment. Describe yourself using affirming language. Others may see you as aggressive, see yourself as tenacious. If you've been described as being overly sensitive, be proud that you are empathetic. Use aspirational language that projects you into a healthy and confident future. And finally, give back. Be clear about what you want to do and be just as clear about who will benefit from your efforts. Our willingness to give time, information, comfort, as well as our unique expertise contributes to the well-being of the many communities that embrace and nurture us. Mentor those who need guidance and inspiration, support those who are faltering, and actively listen to those who need to be heard, and know that today and every day, you are valued, loved, and needed. Congratulations to the class of 2011.
Good morning. My name is Richard Glazier, and I am the Dean of Faculty in Graduate Education. And like our graduates here today, this is my very first Marlboro commencement. This has been this year has been full of firsts for me, and I'm sure for each of our graduates, they also remember their firsts at Marlboro quite well. First town meeting, first apple day, I like apples. First broom ball, I didn't play, I watched, but really cool. Senior dinner, but commencement is my last first and the most significant. I'm so grateful to be part of this day with all of you and to wish our graduates and their families a much-deserved congratulations. As Dean of Faculty, it is my honor to announce the recipients of Marlboro's academic prizes. As I read the names of our award recipients, I ask that everyone hold their applause. I know you want to start right away. Hold your applause until all the prizes have been awarded. I also ask that each student, as their name is announced, please stand and remain standing until all the prizes have been awarded. The Rebecca Willow Prize, established in 2008 in memory of Rebecca Willow, class of 1995, is awarded to a student whose presence brings personal integrity and kindness to the community, and who unites an interest in human history and culture with a passion for the natural world. There are two recipients, Casey Chalbeck and Amanda Whiting. Okay, that's good. The Audrey Alley, they're standing? Good. The Audrey Alley Gorton Award is given in memory of Audrey Gorton, Marlboro alumna and member of the faculty for 33 years, to the student who best reflects the Gorton qualities of passion for reading, an independence of critical judgment, fastidious attention to matters of style, and a gift for intelligent conversation. And the award goes to Emma Goldhammer. The Hilly Van Loan Prize, established by the class of 2000 in honor of Hilly Van Loan, Marlboro class of 1962, and staff member for 23 years, is given to the senior who best reflects Hilly's wisdom, compassion, community involvement, quiet dedication to the spirit of Marlboro, joy in writing, and celebration of life. And there are two recipients, Eric Toldy and Kelly Irons. The William Davison Prize, created by the Town Meeting Select Board and named in honor of Will Davison, who served as a faculty member for 18 years and as a trustee for 22 years, is awarded to one or more students for extraordinary contributions to the Marlboro community. And there are two, Anna Connect and Sarah Verbal. The Ryan Larson Memorial Prize was established in 2006 in memory of Ryan Jeffrey Larson, who felt transformed by the opportunities to learn and grow within the embrace of the Marlboro community. It is awarded annually to a junior or senior who best reflects Ryan's qualities of philosophical curiosity, creativity, compassion, and spiritual inquiry. And there are two, Michael Thompson and Sari Brown. The Helen W. Clark Prize is awarded by the Visual Arts faculty for the best plan of concentration in the fine arts. And there are two, Sophie Mueller and Lex Kosheradsky. The Sally and Valerio Montanari Theater Prize is awarded annually to a graduating senior who has made the greatest overall contribution to the pursuit of excellence in theater production. And the prize goes to Elizabeth Hall. The Dr. Lauren C. Bronson Award for Excellence in Classics, established by the family of Lauren Bronson, class of 1973, is awarded to encourage undergraduate work in classics. And there are two recipients, Emily Kimball and Amanda Whiting. The Roland W. Boyden Prize is given by the Humanities faculty to a student who has demonstrated excellence in the humanities. Roland Boyden was a founding faculty member of the college, acting president, dean, and trustee. And there are two recipients, Eric Breeden and Michael Meyer. Just a few more. The Buck Turner Prize is awarded to a student who demonstrates excellence in the natural sciences, who uses interdisciplinary approaches, and who places his or her work in the context of larger questions. And the award goes to Chrissy Rodonis. The Freshman-Sophomore Essay Prize is given annually for the best essay written for a Marlboro course. And the winner of that prize, Catherine Lyon, for her essay, Animal Morality in Concentric Circles, an honorable mention to Adam Holwitz for The Uncanny Face. The Robert H. MacArthur Prize was established in 1973 in memory of Robert MacArthur, class of 1951, and recently rededicated to Robert and also to John, and to John and Robert's parents, John and Olive MacArthur, who founded the science program at Marlboro College. The contest for the prize is in the form of a question or challenge offered to the entire student community, and there were 3 of these challenges, 3 awards. First, to Thea Cabreros. The second one is shared, Eric Joyce and Lex Kosharadsky, and the third goes to Tristan Pease. Now, I want you to stay standing. There's one more award to give, and I want to ask Jenny Ramstetter to come up to the podium.
The Robert E. Engel Award in honor of Bob Engel, Marlboro faculty member for 36 years, is given to a student who displays Bob's sense of wonder for the natural world and his keen powers of observation and inquiry as a natural historian. This year's recipients are Catherine Lyon and Claire Riley.
And on behalf of the faculty, I want to offer congratulations to all of our award recipients.
Are you ready? This is it. Chairman Nissiper, will you please join me? Kenyon Acton, Bachelor of Arts, Dance and Sociology, a study exploring the relationship of place, performance, and social dance. Sponsors, Kristen Morgan, Jared Levy, outside evaluator, Elizabeth Saylor, arts consultant and visiting faculty at the University of Vermont. Kelly Nicole Ahrens, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and American Studies, Disciplinary Studies, an examination of retributive and restorative justice models drawing on political theory, microhistory, and fieldwork. Sponsors, Meg Mott, Catherine Ratcliffe. Outside evaluator, Alan Gatenby, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Angela Allen, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies, a study of race, gender, and sexuality in the U.S. and Jamaica, drawing on feminist, historical, material, anthropological, and sociological theories and methodologies. Sponsor, Catherine Ratcliffe, outside evaluator, Karen Honeycutt, Keene State College. Jeffrey James Bouchard, I believe also not attending, receiving his Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, Archetypes. An examination of the archetypes of the objective psyche is discussed by Jung in writings throughout his life with specific regard to their purpose, function, and relationship to the individual and society. Sponsor, Thomas Tolino, outside evaluator, Thomas Hirsch, psychotherapist. Eric Breeden, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, American Literature, Writing, Short Fiction, a look at the phenomenon of self through the lens of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. Sponsors, John Sheehy, T. Hunter Wilson, outside evaluator, Martha Ackman, Mount Holyoke College. Morgan Thalesa Broadfoot, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, Journalism, and Cultural History, An exploration of narrative strategies in combat journalism and nonfiction accounts of whitewater paddlers with particular attention to the assessment and presentation of risk and to the motivation of participants in such dangerous circumstances. Sponsors, T. Hunter Wilson, Dana Howell. Outside evaluator, Ethan Gilsdorf, writer. Sari Lynn Brown, Bachelor of Arts, Religion and Anthropology. An exploration of the role that gender plays in transforming and maintaining religious tradition, and the role that religious tradition, including in Bolivia, plays in transcending conventional gender roles. Sponsors, Amr Latif, Carol Hendrickson. Outside evaluator, Abigail Adams, Central Connecticut State University. Christopher Carlton, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy, Literature. A study of art, society, and conceptuality in Frankfurt School theorists and contemporary poetry. Sponsor, William Edelglass. Outside evaluator, Eric Sean Nelson, University of Massachusetts, Lowell. Ryland Chinook, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy, Religion, and Exploration of Singularity, Teleology, and Freedom in Hegel, Marx, and Kierkegaard. Sponsor, William Edelglass. Outside evaluator, Nahum Brown, University of Guelph. John Christopher, Bachelor of Arts, Film, Video Studies, and Literature, an exploration of the relationship between film and literature with a focus on the process of adaptation. Sponsors, Jay Craven, John Sheehy. Outside evaluator, Kenneth Peck, film scholar and public television host. Emily Elizabeth Fasha, Bachelor of Arts, Dance and American Studies, an exploration of dance in relation to social change in the Depression-era United States, complemented by original choreography. Sponsors, Kristen Horrigan, Catherine Ratcliffe. Outside evaluator, Paula Ahrens, Redance Group. Luca Fernandez, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy and Psychology, Psycholinguistics, an exploration of empiricist arguments for and rationalist arguments against linguistic relativity in philosophy of language and psycholinguistics. Sponsors, William Edelglass, Thomas Tolino. Outside evaluator, Karsten Stuber, College of the Holy Cross. Sarah Teresa Ballantyne, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology, Middle Eastern Studies. A comparative study of the psychological effects of child soldiering in Iran and Iraq during the Iran-Iraq War, and an examination of the connection between poverty, child soldiering, and resiliency in children. Sponsors, Thomas Tolino, Adam Franklin Lyons, Bridget Hines. Outside evaluator, John Ungerleiter, SIT World Learning. Elizabeth Andrea Farrell, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and American Studies. A study of the short fiction of Flannery O'Connor with an emphasis on religious themes and family dynamics, supported by an historical study of women and family in America during the Cold War era. Sponsors, John Sheehy, Catherine Ratcliffe. Outside evaluator, Joanne Haynes, Greenfield Community College. Emily Field, Bachelor of Arts, Writing and Literature, Children's Literature, an exploration of a writer's responsibility towards readers. Sponsor, Laura Stevenson and Gloria Biamonte, outside evaluator, Barbara Suling, editor and children's book writer. Marguerite Adriana Fields, Bachelor of Arts, Writing and Visual Arts, an exploration of home, memory, and family and memoir fiction and visual arts. Sponsors John Sheehy, Kathy Osman, outside evaluator, Brian Mooney, writer. Elizabeth Ann Giles, Bachelor of Arts in International Studies, Development Studies, African Studies. A study in human migration and psycholinguistics with an emphasis on sub-Saharan Africa. Internship, Ho, Ghana. Sponsor, Lynette Rummel. Outside evaluator, Alvino Fantini, SIT, World Learning. Michael Andrew Gleason, Bachelor of Arts, Music, Performance, Jazz History. A study of music with focus on the analysis and performance of jazz. Sponsor, Stan Sharkey, outside evaluator, Oren Fader, Manhattan School of Music. Brandon F. Grant, Bachelor of Arts, Sociology and American Studies, an exploration of how U.S. foreign policy propaganda obscures the economic dimensions of expansionism. Sponsors, Gerald Levy, Catherine Ratcliffe, outside evaluator, Brian Donahue Lynch, Quinebaug Valley Community College. Devin Green, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and History, Writing, an attempt to ride the tiger shark of discursive politics using humor and Foucault's politics of resistance through the murky ocean of gender, past and present. Sponsors Meg Mott, Adam Franklin Lyons, outside evaluator Susan Wade, Keene State College.
Good job.
Nicole Trace Hammond, Bachelor of Arts, Politics, Cultural Studies. A political and cultural exploration of population flow, identity, and exchange. Sponsors, Lynette Rummel, Meg Mott, outside evaluator, Anna Bata, Smith College. Nathaniel B. Hull, Bachelor of Arts, Theater and History, an in-depth study of masculinity and violence using focused historical research and a theatrical performance that showcases both personal narratives of combat as well as cultural perspectives on violence. Sponsors, Adam Franklin Lyons, Brenda Foley, outside evaluator, Gary Bertie, Springfield College. Elizabeth Marie Hall, Bachelor of Arts, Theater, an in-depth study of the short stories, poems, and plays of Tennessee Williams, culminated in a production of 3 of his one-act plays. Sponsor, Brenda Foley, outside evaluator, Anna Marie Bean, independent scholar. Damaris Elizabeth Jacks, Bachelor of Arts, Economics and Sociology, an interdisciplinary study of the modern American economy focusing on the causes and consequences of corporate outsourcing and offshoring. Sponsors, James Tober, Gerald Levy, outside evaluator, Valerie Voorhees, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Jonathan Biko Mandela-Jones, Bachelor of Arts, Photography, Writing, an exploration of themes of grief, loss, and resiliency, conducted through photography, creative writing, and literary analysis. Sponsors, John Willis, John Sheehy, outside evaluator, Jim Dow, Tufts University, and the School of the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Courtney Frances Kanzler, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology and Religion, an exploration of madness and trauma with a focus on combat veterans and post-traumatic stress using psychological and religious perspectives. Sponsors, Tom Tolino, Amr Latif, outside evaluator, Shane Hammond, Greenfield Community College. Dilyara Hazyanova, Bachelor of Arts, Sociology and American Studies, Sculpture, an exploration of how states, groups, and individuals negotiate issues of migration, rights, and belonging with a theoretical, historical, and ethnographic emphasis on statelessness and transnationalism. Sponsors, Gerald Levy, Catherine Ratcliffe, Timothy Seeger, outside evaluator, Diana Yoon, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Emily Kimball, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Classics, Translation, an examination of narrative tensions in works by James Joyce and Salman Rushdie, informed by the study of translation. Sponsors, Heather Clark, Gloria Biamonte, William Gaust, outside evaluator, James Pethica, Williams College. Jason Lee Knopp, Bachelor of Arts, Film. A summary of the technique and influence of Alfred Hitchcock. Sponsor, Jay Craven. Outside evaluator, Kenneth Peck, film scholar and public television host. Alexander Fox Kodorodsky, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts. A study in visual art and art history exploring the relationship between experience, communication, and community. Sponsor, Timothy Seeger, outside evaluator, Jeffrey Stucker, Yale University. David S. Kozin, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology, Neuropsychology, Neurophysiology. An examination of the methods used in creating a valid and reliable psychiatric diagnosis. Sponsors, Thomas Tolino, Todd Smith, outside evaluator, Henry David Abraham, Tufts University School of Medicine. Karim Youssef Lalu, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology and Literature, an investigative look at the signification of dreams through dramatic and colonial literature in conjunction with a Freudian interpretation. Sponsors, Thomas Tolino, Geraldine Pittman de Baget. Outside evaluator, Christopher Lovell, Union Institute and University. Nick Legowski, Bachelor of Arts, Politics, Political Theory, and Exploration of the Relationship Between Identity and Things. Sponsors, Meg Mott, William Edelglass. Outside evaluators, Thomas Dung, Amherst College. Hi, Nick. Christopher Wade Little, Bachelor of Arts, Languages, Spanish and Iberian Studies, a study of language politics in modern Spain with an emphasis on the state of linguistic diversity and preservation in the post-Franco era. Sponsors, Rosario de Swanson, Adam Franklin Lyons, outside evaluator, Alvino Fantini, SIT, World Learning.
Catherine Lloyd, Bachelor of Arts. Film, Video Studies and Classics, Ancient Greek. Plan summary, a study of Homer's epic, The Odyssey, in film, a paper and translation. Sponsors Jay Craven, William Guest. Outside evaluator, Kenneth Peck, film scholar and public television host.
Thank you.
Rebecca Mallory, Bachelor of Arts. Writing in History, Plan Summary, a young adult novel with supporting papers in history and young adult fantasy literature with specific focus on female agency and post-1960s feminist heroines. Sponsors Laura Stevenson, Timothy Little, John Sheehy. Outside evaluator, Marissa Doyle, author. Paige Elizabeth Martin, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts Languages, Plan Summary, a study and experimentation of hand-bound book structures in children's book illustration, supported by a paper on foreign language education. Sponsors Kathy Osmond, Michael Huffmaster. Outside evaluator, Ken Leslie, Johnson State College. Congratulations. Paige L. Martin, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies and Economics, Labor Studies. Plan Summary, an interdisciplinary examination of labor history and labor economics in the United States from 1890 to the present. Sponsors Catherine Ratcliffe, James Tober, outside evaluator Bruce Laurie, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Connor H. McGrath, Bachelor of Arts, Theater and Film, Video Studies, Writing. Plan Summary, a study of depictions of comedians or comic figures as tragic in film and theater. Sponsors Brenda Foley, Jay Craven, outside evaluator Kenneth Peck, film scholar and public television host. Geraldine M. Medina, Bachelor of Arts. Anthropology, linguistic anthropology, plan summary, a broad focus on issues of language identity in immigrant communities. Sponsor, Carol Hendrickson, outside evaluator, Maria Elena Cepeda, Williams College. Emily Magistro Mente, Bachelor of Arts, Liberal Studies, Gender Studies. Plan summary, an exploration of the connections between femininity, feminism, and female friendship, drawing on the fields of history, political theory, and media studies. Sponsors, Catherine Ratcliffe, Meg Mott, outside evaluator, Gail Griffin, Kalamazoo College. Michael Myrer, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Philosophy, plan summary, an exploration of identity, metaphor, and judgment in modernist literature and philosophy. Sponsors, Geraldine Pittman de Baget, William Edelglass, John Sheehy. Outside evaluator, Jules Chametsky, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Sophie Claire Mueller, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts and Religion, plan summary, an exploration of movement through decorative pattern, repetition, and motif in printmaking and ceramics, supported by a paper on pilgrimage as articulated in religious traditions. Sponsors Kathy Osman, Martina Lanton, Amr Latif. Outside evaluator, Nancy Freese, Rhode Island School of Design. Nahum H. Ochoa, Bachelor of Arts, American Studies and History, Food Studies. Plan summary, an examination of how immigration, class, race, and gender have affected the meatpacking industry in the United States from the late 19th century to the present day. Sponsors, Catherine Ratcliffe, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Bruce Laurie, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. And thanks for all your participation. Alice Jensina Packard, Bachelor of Arts, Liberal Studies, Media Studies, Screenwriting, Photography. Plan summary, an exploration of the coming-of-age theme in American media, supported by an exhibition of original photography and a television screenplay. Sponsors John Sheehy, Catherine Ratcliffe, John Willis. Outside evaluator, Joanne Hayes, Greenfield Community College. Zachary Parker Pearson, Bachelor of Arts. Music plan summary, a study of music and musicianship skills with a focus on the performance of contemporary acoustic jazz. Sponsor, Stanley Charkey. Outside evaluator, Oren Fader, Manhattan School of Music. Tristan E. Pease, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts, Photography, and Art History. Plan summary, a photographic and written investigation of disconnected histories and the chasms between lives. Sponsors John Willis, Aaron Benet. Outside evaluator, Joanne Byrne, Greenfield Community College. Kelly Rebecca Mary Pierce Boulgere, Bachelor of Arts, Cultural History and Religion, Islam. Plan summary, an investigation of Palestinian women's roles in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and how women are interpreted in the foundational texts of Islam. Sponsors Dana Howell, Amir Latif, Timothy Little. Outside evaluator, Diana Abu Ali, Dartmouth College. Christine Radonis, Bachelor of Arts in International Studies, Environmental Studies, Ecology and Policy, and Languages, Spanish. Plan summary, an interdisciplinary study of social studies, social issues, environmental conflicts, and social protests surrounding natural resource development in Latin America with a focus on mining. Internship, La Plata, Argentina. Sponsors Jennifer Ramstetter, Rosario de Swanson, James Tober. Outside evaluator, Sonia Peck, Bates College. Heather Ann Haston Reed, Bachelor of Arts, Film, Video Studies, Dance Film. Plan summary, an interdisciplinary study of movement, design, and cinema. Sponsors Jay Craven, Kristen Horrigan. Outside evaluator, Helene Lesterlin, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Ursula Rosiger, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy, Plan Summary, a study of the Enlightenment and its critics from Kant to Habermas. Adorno, Foucault, and Habermas. Sponsor, William Edelglass. Outside evaluator, Amy Allen, Dartmouth College, unfortunately not attending. Daniel Rose, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy and Politics. Plan summary, an inquiry into the origins, nature, and epistemic status of value. Just gets a little long here, I'm sorry. Status of value, judgments, focusing on the works and thought of Friedrich Nietzsche. Sponsor Meg Mott, outside evaluator, Nicholas Tampio, Fordham University. Sarah Santos, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Economics, Development, Plan Summary, and interdisciplinary study of political and economic development in Latin America. Sponsors Meg Mott, James Tober. Outside evaluator, Thomas Redden, Southern Vermont College. Sarah Amelia Horan Sheff, Bachelor of Arts, Writing in Sociology, Psychology, Plan Summary, a study of violence in adolescence and how it affects the transition into adulthood. Sponsors John Sheehy, Gerald Levy, outside evaluator, Christopher Lovell, Union Institute and University. Theodosia Ray Schneider, Bachelor of Science, Biology. Plan summary, an analysis of the exercise, physiology, and biomechanics of sled dogs and a historical narrative of dog sledding culture. Sponsors Jamie Tanner, Carol Hendrickson, outside evaluator, Ronald Svek, veterinarian. Anna Connect Schwartzer, Bachelor of Arts, Liberal Studies, Feminist Studies, and Visual Arts. Plan Summary, An Exploration of Women, Absence, and Subversion Through the Lens of Political Theory and Feminist Art. Sponsors Meg Mott, Brenda Foley, John Willis. Outside Evaluator, Gail Griffin, Kalamazoo College. Richard Taylor Scruggs, Bachelor of Arts, Computer Science Education. Plan Summary, a study of undergraduate computer science practice and education. Sponsor, Jim Mahoney, Outside Evaluator, Sue Castriata, Keene State College. Alexandra Sporer, Bachelor of Arts, Theater. Plan Summary, an examination of the aspects of cultural semiotics in clothing and interpretive expressive functions of costume in performance. Sponsors, Paul Nelson, Dana Howell, Outside Evaluator, Edward Isser, College of the Holy Cross. Ruth Audrey Stark, Bachelor of Arts, Music and Art History. Plan Summary, a study of 17th century Dutch music and visual arts focusing on the themes and domesticity and exoticism in still life painting and the relationship between visual depictions of musicians and contemporary musical practice. Sponsors Stanley Charkey, Aaron Benet. Outside Evaluator, Walter Denny, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Jessica Stern, Bachelor of Arts, Environmental Studies, Ecology, Ethnobiology. Plan Summary, a broad exploration in environmental studies with an emphasis on ecological and ethnobotanical dimensions in neotropical communities. Sponsors Jennifer Ramstetter, Jamie Tanner. Outside Evaluator, Kristen Purtur-Utli, Keene State College. Ryan Eric Stratton, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Photography. Plan Summary, a study of process and progress in the works of Dante and James Joyce and through original photographic work. Sponsors Geraldine Pittman de Baget, John Willis, Outside Evaluator, John Gittleson, Keene State College. Michael Allen Thompson, Bachelor of Arts, Philosophy. Plan Summary, a study of the cultivation of freedom, singularity, and ethics in Kierkegaard and Nietzsche. Sponsor, William Edelglass, Outside Evaluator, Claudine Davids Hoffer, Emory University. Eric Toldy, Bachelor of Arts, History of Science. Plan Summary, a historical account of the space era, including a focus on the space race within the Cold War and the rise of the Rocketeers. Sponsor, Adam Franklin Lyons, Outside Evaluator, Larry Owens, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Sarah Elizabeth Verbal, Bachelor of Arts, Religion and Asian Studies and Dance. Plan Summary, a study of the body through an examination of the language used to describe it in the Torah, Quran, and Japanese culture, as well as a dance performance exploring bodily perception. Sponsors, Amr Latif, Seth Harder, Kristen Horrigan, Outside Evaluator, Michael Pittman, Albany College of Pharmacy. Only 4 to go, Ellen. John Whelan, Bachelor of Arts. Economics and Visual Arts, Plan Summary, a study of economics with a focus on the creative economy and guitar production in the United States in historical context, featuring case studies of local independent craftspeople and an exhibition of carved wood sculpture. Sponsors, James Tober, Timothy Seeger, Outside Evaluators, Michelle and David Holsaffel, independent artists. Amanda Marie Whiting, Bachelor of Arts, Classics, Ancient Pastoral Poetry and Literature. Plan Summary, an exploration of the birth of pastoral poetry and pastoral themes through the study of the Idylls of Theocritus and Eclogues of Virgil, and the poetry of William Butler Yeats. Sponsors Timothy Little, William Gaust, Outside Evaluator, Sarah Nix, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Rebecca Williams, Bachelor of Arts, Music, Plan Summary, a study in tonal music and composition as practiced in the 18th century with an emphasis on the keyboard works of J.S. Bach. Sponsor, Stanley Charkey, Outside Evaluator, Hugh Keelan, Brattleboro Music Center. Devin Taylor Wilmot, Bachelor of Arts, Mathematics. Plan Summary, a broad study of mathematics with a focus on group theory and combinatorial problems within groups. Sponsor, Matthew Aulis, Outside Evaluator, David Kelly, Hampshire College.
By the authority vested in us by the State of Vermont and the Board of Trustees, we now declare you graduates of Marlboro College. Last blasts of exuberance. I ask you to remain seated for our final ritual and during the procession. Then please join us for a reception, a soggy reception in the tent. Our valediction will be given by someone who has done it before. 35 years ago, he spoke at his son and our trustee, Peter Mallory's commencement. Today, he gives the farewell for his granddaughter, Becca's ceremony. Welcome back, Reverend Mallory.
I feel as rumpled and warm and ready to go as you do, and the head of the board took off his mortarboard, and I may have to shed something such as this hood. The end is near, and I don't mean the rapture on May 21st. I looked up valediction, and the definition in my dictionary was an act of farewell or leave-taking, and the second definition was a speech or statement on the occasion of a farewell. Well, this is going to be shorter than a speech and probably a little more than a statement, so bear with me, because after that, some music and an opportunity to congratulate all those who have their new degrees. So what do you say? I think back to my own collegiate years, which were eons ago, long, long ago, from a college, a New England college, further up the Connecticut River, about 75 miles. And so I've consulted my memory to try to dredge up what important things stand out from those 4 years. The first thing was the initial lecture I sat, given by a certain German philosopher, one of the many Jewish academics who left Germany in the 1930s to get out of Hitler's 1,000-year Reich. And I was absolutely fascinated by this man. I then took every course he gave, although my major was in government. He was a brilliant person. He made me think. He focused my reading. He influenced my worldview, and he contributed to my choice of vocation. And if you have discovered one teacher or one mentor here who has really grabbed you and ignited sparks in your mind and heart, then you know what I mean, and you should be very grateful. I happen to know one Marlboro graduate very well, not the one who graduated now, but another one. And one particular professor was a special and lasting influence in his life. So that was one moment I recall from my Dartmouth days. The other aha moment came during the second week of a music appreciation class. It was a huge class, nothing you'd see here at Marlboro, held in an auditorium. Most of the students were there because it was a course with a reputation for demanding very little, for easy dozing, and a safe C. Mostly the members of that class were legacies or lazy students or athletes on special scholarships. I, of course, was there for a much better reason than one of those, a personal reason. I had grown up in a non-musical household. My father's repertoire of songs, which he sang in the shower and elsewhere, consisted of Dear Old Dartmouth, Dartmouth's in Town Again, Run Girls Run, and Eleazar Wheelock was a very pious man. He was the founder of Dartmouth. He went into the wilderness to teach the Indian. Well, you get the picture of my good father's musical tastes. Classical music to him was some kind of frippery for other sorts of people. But somehow I always suspected that I was missing something, and I was resolved to see whether possibly there was something worth hearing in classical music. And so I took this course in Music Appreciation 101 and took my seat in that class, which included many lunkheads. The announced professor for the course was the director of the college glee club and band. And the first week of classes were not very exciting. He told us about the bass and treble clefs and musical notation and sharps and flats and chords, and how to make sense of these squiggles on a piece of paper that represented melody and harmony. Real Dullsville. On Monday of the second week of this course, we took our seats in this large room and looked up front and saw a completely different face. Our new professor was up there fiddling with a music machine, I suppose a stereo player, and he was putting on a 33 1/3 RPM LP. Do you know what those are? They're antiques, of course, but they made music. And he said that Professor X from the first week was ill and that he had been asked to take over the class for the rest of the term. And he put the needle on the LP and said, "Please listen." And the room was filled with Mozart, specifically with the lovely lilting strains of Eine kleine Nachtmusik. And I was amazed and delighted and surprised and even transported. This was classical music? Well, as I had vaguely suspected, it was really melodic and attractive. And so I was hooked. And needless to say, the first LP I went out and bought was that same disc, a little night music, followed, I might add, by lots more Mozart and Handel and Bach, and gradually by symphonic and chamber and opera works. So that class was really one of two memorable moments in my experience. I'm sorry for Professor X and his flu, but it opened new doors in my life. And so I don't know what moment, what person, faculty, or friend, what book, what play, what music stands out for you graduates from these Marlboro years. But be very grateful for doors that were opened, friends you have made, and the changes all of this has made in you from the person who arrived on this college several years ago. Last night, as I thought about whether a speech or a statement, I looked back at what I'd written, and I took my red pencil and chopped out a lot because I realized time is of the essence. So I'm going to move ahead a little bit and deprive you of a few bits of my wisdom. If I can make the pages move here. Today, then, for many of you, is going to bring very different emotions. The first one, obviously, is relief. It's over, I did it, I'm here, and I have this diploma to prove it. Affection, I hope, for most of you, a feeling for this place and this community which have made a difference in your lives. And remember to feel that way when you get your letters from the development office over the next few years. And finally, you are right to deserve a feeling of pride. I finished my plan. Maybe it's not as good as it might be, but it's finished and it's my work and I'm proud of it. To those feelings of relief and affection and pride, I add one more, and that is simply thanks. You ought to feel a sense of thanksgiving to the parents, the schools, the teachers, the guides who made coming here possible. And thanks to the teachers, the students, the classmates, and some of the other unlikely folks you met here who have helped you out in these college years. We are a privileged nation, and you who have had this college opportunity and now graduate are yet more privileged. Not because your starting salary may be higher, but because you have the knowledge and perspective and, we hope, the wisdom to use the gifts you have, those you inherited genetically and those nurtured here, not simply for your own benefit, but for the common good. I hope that many of you, I know that many of you will find imaginative and exciting ways to use your gifts for good, even at some cost to yourself, a lower salary or whatever. Dag Hammarskjöld was the Secretary General of the United Nations from 1953 until his death in an air crash in Rhodesia in 1961 while he was working for peace in Central Africa. And he kept, as some of you may know, but probably not most of you, he kept what we would now call a journal on his night table, recording his jottings about life and work and literature. And he was a very educated and scholarly Swede. Translated into English, that book, that journal, is called Markings, and it has long been one of my own favorite night table books because of the pithy way he puts many of his observations about life, colleagues, and the world. He writes, for instance, this: "Goodness is something so simple, always to live for others, never to seek one's own advantage." And as he reflected on the mores and the egos of the important men and women, the VIPs of our society, from his office up in that Secretariat building on the east side of Manhattan, he wrote this wry comment: "The men of the hour, the self-assured who strut about among us in the jingling harness of their success and importance, how can you let yourself be irritated by them? Let them enjoy their triumph on the level to which it belongs." And he wrote that before the present crop of contenders for President Obama's job. You know, I could find very readily telling words from any of the great religious traditions to leave with you as guides for your lives. But it's a bit dicey in this age of diversity and of political correctness, and one needs to avoid any hint of partisan propaganda or proselytizing. You see, I have a round collar on. So instead of any pieties that might offend, let me share a story which is an actual taped transcription of several days' conversations between Archibald MacLeish and Mark Van Doren. Archibald MacLeish was a Librarian of Congress, playwright. He wrote J.B., his version of Job, and poet, and Mark Van Doren was a poet. And this was literally a taped record of about 3 days of their wide-ranging conversation, and it's been put in printed form. And I want to end with this story from MacLeish. MacLeish had written this play, J.B., his version of the book of Job, and I guess it was being produced for the first time in Washington, where he had his headquarters. And in the play, it has a voice from above, a disembodied voice, which is the voice of God coming from on high. No character on stage, just a voice. And they had tried various actors, I suppose we would now call them voiceovers, and none of them sounded right as they were casting the play. MacLeish wanted an old man's voice, a voice with depth and authority, and it occurred to him that the voice he needed was that of Judge Learned Hand, perhaps the greatest judge who never served on the Supreme Court. A name would be known to some in my generation, and you might have heard of him, but he was a circuit court judge and widely regarded as one who should have ended up on the high court and probably its head, but he never was. He probably came of age in the wrong administration. Anyway, so MacLeish went up from Washington to New York to see the judge in his New York chambers and to ask him if he would record the voice of God for his play, J.B. He knew Hand, and he went into the chambers. Judge Hand was also known for his thoroughgoing unbelief or skepticism, as well as for the brilliance of his decisions and the impeccable sense of justice. And so let MacLeish tell what happened here. Well, I entered his chambers, and he looked at me very skeptically. He told me afterwards he thought I was coming to ask him to make a speech, and he was all ready to say no. B, that's what his friends called Hand. His name was Billings, Learned Hand. B, I'm going to leave the door behind me open, if you don't mind, because I want to get out of here fast. And then I told him what I wanted. He listened very attentively, and then he was suddenly convulsed with laughter. He doubled up on his desk, and his face turned scarlet. He couldn't stop laughing. And he finally said, panting between laughs, "Archie, do you know what my relations are up there?" Here he was being invited to read the voice of God, and he had been denying the existence of God all his life long. But you know, Mark, and this goes back to the conversation, Archie says, do you know, Mark, his denial of the existence of God was in a very believable way an affirmation of his belief in a human true north. He was a very great man, and for him there was a true north in human life. May you leave this place with affection, but even more with thanks for doors that had opened for you, for friends you have made, and for the intellectual tools you have acquired. May you find ways to use your gifts, not simply for gain or pleasure, but for justice and compassion near and far. And whatever your particular spiritual resources, your particular religious or philosophical convictions, may your compass point true north. Thank you.